Recorded live at PodFest Berlin, supported by Wonder Tax. Tax returns made easy.
Hi everyone, welcome to Potluck Food Talks. Today we have a special live episode, live from Berlin. Berlin, make some noise. Woo! So this is our episode number 52, which means we have a whole year behind us. And before we start, we wanted to tell a little bit the story of Potluck, how it started. It actually started with just a call with Xander, who is just entering the room. And we were talking about what could we do to travel and eat for a living, like in the next 5 years or so. So he came up with the idea. Just the day next, the logo was ready with a cheap logo site on the internet. And just the day afterwards, we made our first episode, which was the Spanish tortilla.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of this really sort of cowboyness of like spontaneous episodes kind of carried on throughout the whole of last year, you know, just trying to fit in episodes into our work schedule, you know. And that's basically what we're going to be doing today, you know. We're just kind of, Eric's literally arrived fresh off the boat, stranded in Munich for how long? I mean, all night?
Yeah, like I had a 3-hour sleep. I lost my flight. I almost lost my voice this morning. So
he doesn't always sound this sexy, you know. It's like normally it's really high pitched,
but not today. No. So and kind of like the idea was to talk about whatever food related topics that we could talk for 10 minutes, 20 minutes. In this case, it's going to be an hour. Talking about sandwiches, things we like about sandwiches or sandwich experiences we've had so far. And since we started with the tortilla, the Spanish omelette as the first episode, we thought we might start also with the Spanish omelette as the first sandwich. Wait 1 second. Having an issue, technical issue here, just to...
Oh, damn, we really should have checked that instead of drinking coffee.
Working, man. Why is it not working?
Oh, there we go.
Okay. Well, then we might just click. Okay. What's the deal with tortilla sandwiches?
Well, I mean, it's like, you know, we talked about tortilla in one of our episodes, and tortilla is such a quintessential Spanish food. You know, it's like you find it everywhere. You find it in, you know, most sort of like pincho and tapas bars. And, you know, one of the like most sort of like easy, convenient, comfortable foods to go to in Spain is just like having a tortilla, putting it in a slice of bread, because that's basically, you know, I mean, the quintessence of a sandwich is that you have a vessel that you can put food in so that you can take it on the go, right? I mean, you could take a piece of tortilla, just bare hand, I guess, you know, but, you know, a piece of bread is just kind of convenient.
And this is something you will find like in school cafeterias and all kinds of, like on a train station, everywhere. It's like really a staple in Spain.
Yeah, and it's kind of like, you know, like why sandwich, like an interesting topic, you know? It's kind of like, it's one of those things where you can go really in depth of why it's interesting, because it's something that you find literally everywhere in the world. It doesn't matter what food culture you go to, you always have a certain sort of type of sandwich where you have this like aspect of convenience and on the go and sort of like everyday nutrition. I mean, here we have the good old carb on protein, you know?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to say. Like putting potatoes on a sandwich is kind of counterintuitive, but you see that like in Latin America, you see a lot of sandwiches with fries or these kind of things.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you know, double carb is, you know, there's nothing wrong with it.
So another one is like, have you ever seen a picture of the first burger? Because that's also a sandwich and it's probably the most popular sandwich in the world. So it didn't look at all like the burgers we know today.
Yeah, totally. I mean, but then it kind of like we get to the question sort of like, what makes a sandwich, right? It's sort of like at what point is a sandwich and at what point isn't it? Is it the bread? Is it just the fact that you can like take it in your hand, just eat it on the go? Like...
Yeah, that's something we can discuss. I have some slides to talk about that. About the first burger, I wanted to mention, like, it has nothing to do with Hamburg. At some point in the States, they started making what they called hamburger steak, which is basically a boulette. And someone came up with the idea of making these sandwiches, and that they're doing it just like the original one still today. So you can have the original burger, which was with a square bread and a real thick patty, nothing to do with the burgers we know today.
Well, it's called a patty melt, no? Like if you do it like that.
I think, I don't know. I think patty is in the UK, and the burger, the patty, you will call it burger.
No, but there is a type of sandwich where they make it exactly like that, which is called a patty melt. Where it's specifically like that. It was sort of like toasted milk bread and then like really sort of like smashed burgery with like very limited, because like burgers are often so overloaded, and a patty melt's just kind of like smashed meat, cheese, onion, and like maybe some pickles and stuff on like toast.
It's funny because then you're like adding a new name for the original one, which is strange, Same like with tomatoes. Tomatoes are tomatoes all around the world, except Mexico, which is jitomate, and that's the original word, sorry.
So the rest of the people are just too lazy to add the chi?
I guess, yeah. Or it was lost in translation somehow.
Yeah.
So the word sandwich comes from a nobleman from the 18th century. He was playing a card game, and he asked to get like a steak between two breads. And he thought he was a genius. He was the first one in history to come up with that, which probably is not the case. But the name stuck, and that's why all sandwiches are called sandwiches.
Of course, look at him. He's like he's like this aristocratic white guy. And he's like, I've got this amazing idea nobody's done before. Let's just name it after myself. Right?
Exactly.
He's really proud of himself.
Like many things, like in the Western culture. So let's break it into parts. Do you have like a favorite bread for sandwiches in general, or is it case dependent?
I think, I don't know. Like there's this whole discussion of sort of like, sourdough or not sourdough. There was this whole sourdough like rave. And I feel like loads of people started making like grilled cheese sandwiches and that sort of stuff with like this kind of country style sourdough. But I actually think that for sandwiches, like moving away from this like artisanal bread is actually better. Not to talk about things like, I don't know, Bimbo bread, but like, I don't know if you guys know the brand Bimbo bread, people from Latin America and Spain and stuff, they will definitely know this, but this is like a brand of like super soft, artificial white bread. And it's like delicious. It's sweet, it's soft, and it's kind of like, I don't know. I don't want to I like sourdough, but I don't want a chewy piece of sourdough for grilled cheese sandwich.
Yeah, I agree. Like for sandwiches, the most gourmet thing I would come off is like a good brioche, which is like a very buttery bread. It has no water, instead only eggs. It's actually kind of a complicated bread to especially in the kneading process. It has so much butter that you have to add it by parts, as when you do a mayonnaise. Yeah. So it's kind of like a sophisticated technique to pull it off. And I think that's the most elevated thing I would use for a sandwich, even also for a burger or different kinds of sandwiches.
Yeah, like the thing with brioche is that it's like very enriched. It's like an enriched bread, which means that you add loads of butter, you add loads of egg, and milk and all that sort of stuff. There's like two versions that I actually prefer. Like there's a thing called Hokkaido milk bread, which is like less rich, but by the way that it's made, it's often made with in German we would call it Kochstück, which is basically like flour that is cooked. So like the gelatin in the flour, you cook it, the gelatin activates, you cool it down, and when you add it into a dough, it modifies the dough. You add more moisture, which makes the crumb a lot softer and a lot more spongy. There's also a really nice Chinese recipe. It's called tangzu, something like that, where you do exactly that. You basically just make a slurry out of flour and water, let that cool down, and then mix it into your dough. And it makes the whole thing like super fluffy, super soft, and you don't have to add like so much butter or like oil or something like that to make the bread soft. That's actually, for me, that's like my favorite. Yeah.
Like a good sandwich bread I like, and I found it out just out of an accident. A restaurant we were working together, I had like a baguette in my prep. So, and I had some surplus dough, so I just put it in a baking form, and I let it like overproof until it was really, really fluffy, much more than you would do with a baguette. And that is already like a super good sandwich bread. It's like an easy hack to get like a bread that you can cut and use for the typical, square sandwich, and much better than, the ones you buy at the supermarket.
Yeah, for sure.
What about condiments, sauces? Do you have any favorites, any musts that you would add to a sandwich?
No, not really. I mean, this is like such an infinite sort of world of like, possibilities. I mean, it can be anything. That's kind of the thing, it's like you go from like culture to culture to culture and you'll find like just the most, like the, super different things. I don't know, like because I'm from Central Europe, I feel like butter is, kind of quintessential. I feel like when somebody makes like a piece of toast and they make a sandwich, they use something like olive oil. It just kind of makes me cringe,
Yeah, I agree. There are things where olive oil is better, even some sandwiches, but yeah, butter is like the protagonist here. I would also say mayo or mustard, not ketchup. Ketchup is not my favorite, except for a burger, but like...
Ketchup is a very controversial topic, Yeah.
Let's keep it to mayo and mustard.
Mayo is like, I don't know why mayo became this also quintessential sandwich component, because like, I mean, more about, you want to quickly delve into the history of mayonnaise? Because kind of interesting.
I can quickly explain it. So actually the word comes from an island in the Balearic Islands. It's called Mahon. And this island was conquered by the French. And they were actually looking for, they were cooking alioli, which is the predecessor of mayonnaise. It's not that someone added garlic to mayonnaise. It's that someone took garlic out of alioli to make mayonnaise. So the French brought it to France, and at some point, the Spanish imported it back to Spain. And so that's the reason why in Spain, a lot of people say mayonesa instead of mayonesa. But it got translated back into Spanish, the way the French were saying it, mayonnaise, into mayonesa. And yeah, that's kind of the story behind it.
The French fucked it up, you mean? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Do you have any favorite mayo?
I don't know. I mean, like Kewpie mayo obviously is very nice. It's if you add MSG to something, it always makes it like a little bit.
Yeah,
nicer,
but it also has like Japanese mustard and some other ingredients.
Does it?
Yeah, for sure.
I feel like maybe they just like add a little bit so they can put more on the ingredient list to like take away from the MSG component, because that's really what makes it tasty.
Yeah, whatever has a kid cartoon on its label and it's from Asia, it has MSG for sure.
I mean, can we talk about it? Why is there a baby on the mayonnaise bottle? I think that's really misleading.
Yeah, but there is another one. It's called Healthy Boy brand. You know that one?
Yeah.
It's also like this high MSG sauces.
Yeah, but he's a healthy boy. He's chubby. He's like it's like what the yellow bean curd thing, right? The fermented yellow bean sauce. That's healthy boy, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean,
I love that shit. But
beans are healthy, I mean,
what about mustard?
I mean, we're in the land of mustard, Mustard is cool, man. Like, I feel like people really like mustard is really underrated. Here, like we have more of a culture, like in Germany, of mustard. You can go to a supermarket and you can buy
20 different types.
Yeah, exactly, in like different strengths, etc. Like I got really cross one time when I was living in the UK, and I was doing a catering, and the host.
British mustard is horrible.
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't go that far. Coleman's mustard definitely has its place, I think. But like I remember the host of the catering, she was sort of like, oh yeah, like blah 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 mustard. She was like, nice and spicy mustard, not like your German mustard. And I was like, excuse me? I got seriously offended because I was like, man, you go to any supermarket here and you have like tons of mustard, and like also like really like here and in Belgium and in France, you have these like old mustard mills that still ferment the mustard like properly, like different chunkiness, there's like stuff like blackberry mustard and like blueberry mustard, which is super delicious.
Yeah, I've also seen one with figs or this kind of thing, dried figs and the mustard or black olives. There are different fruits. Super nice. I recently saw a headline in the New York Times, which I thought it was really funny. It said something about there's a scarcity of Dijon mustard in Colombia, and it says it would leave the eaters a tangy void in their hearts and sandwiches.
Yeah, I mean, they must be passionate about the mustard, man. I don't know if I've ever felt a tangy void in my heart. I mean, not mustard related anyway.
Might be. What about the veggies? Do you have any preference on vegetables for your sandwich?
No, not really. I mean, like when I think of vegetables, I think more of pickles. Like I think pickles are really like they're kind of quintessential to sandwiches, you know. But like veggies, that's kind of like a seasonal thing, you know. Like whatever's around. I don't generally like the sandwiches that are like overloaded with vegetables, you know. Instead of like, you know, unless there's like a purpose, like a BLT, you know. BLT for me is like one of the nicest sandwiches ever, and like the best BLTs, like often they're like overloaded with bacon. But if you have really nice like heirloom tomatoes and really, really delicious lettuce, and then mayo, super quintessential in the BLT, and then a layer of like crispy, really, really crispy bacon. I mean, that's one of the best sandwiches ever. You know?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's something that shouldn't be abused. These sandwiches with a whole salad is like too much. And you want just like a fresh touch, even if you're using something really dominant like a rocket, you just want to put a few leaves, not like a big bunch that takes the whole thing.
Yeah. But then again, I also feel like, you know, people often feel compelled, like they have to add something. Like they're sort of like, they look at a sandwich and they're sort of like, man, should I add some lettuce? You know, I feel like that there's like lettuce leaf that's peeking out on the side is missing. But sometimes you also have to just kind of be brave enough to just leave the lettuce out, you know, just let the sandwich be. Like not every sandwich needs like a handful of vegetables in there.
And what about cooked vegetables or roasted vegetables?
Yeah, super nice. I mean, like right now, I don't know what you guys are thinking, but it's sort of like the sandwiches that we're talking about, we're kind of thinking about like slices of bread with like filling inside. But I mean, like, there's like loads of other sandwiches. Like think of a pita bread, you know? A pita bread filled of like roasted vegetables is like one of the most delicious things ever.
Yeah, I really like this escalivada, which is this kind of roasted ratatouille from Catalonia. And that on a loaf of bread, that's the sandwich. Maybe some very high quality anchovies on top of that, and that's it.
That's amazing. Yeah, it's super nice.
So, and you mentioned pickles. Do you have any favorite pickles or recommendations around pickles?
Well, I mean, the OG of pickles is the pickle, right? That's why it's called a pickle, no? Like, otherwise it'd be called, you know, pickled cucumber, but it's called pickle for a reason, right? Yeah, man. I mean, pickles is also one of these things that, like, I feel like people have kind of forgotten what a good pickle is because you just used to these, like, shitty supermarket pickles. But, like, a good pickle, like, whether it's pickled or it's fermented or it's, like, brined, pickled cucumbers are amazing, you know, when they're, like, properly brined with, like, a bit of dill and coriander seeds and stuff. They're super delicious. So, I mean, I think that is the most important pickle.
I think the best I've had were in America. I will get to that later. But also like easy things are like jalapenos or maybe just marinating onions in a brine or in vinegar and you know, like really simple things to add it to the next level.
Yeah, I think like Jewish cooking culture has a lot of really amazing pickle recipes. Like, actually, that was one of the like best pickles that I tried also, and it's also this like beetroot pickle with like loads of grated horseradish. That is kind of like it's more like a relish really that you cook it down with like a little bit of creme fraiche, and then you like keep it as like a pickle. It's more like a condiment, I guess. And that's super delicious. Like with like some smoked fish, you know, it's amazing because it's like super, you have the beetroot, the sweetness, you cut it with vinegar, and then you have the spiciness from the horseradish. That's super, super nice. One of my favorites is also like, have you ever tried like green tomatoes? They're more like a thing in the US, but...
or in Mexico, right?
Yeah, but like never really pickled, I think. But like I've tried them fermented, and they're amazing, you know. Often they need to stand for like a year. But once they're done and they're kind of like fermented through, they're so like fruity and tart, and they've got this super delicious, like soft, but like still like vegetably texture. They're super tasty.
I haven't had them like that. I had some in New Orleans, like green fried tomatoes, like the movie.
Yeah.
But that's like a completely different thing.
Yeah.
What about spreads? Do you add spreads to your sandwich?
Yeah, pretty much always. I feel like a dry sandwich is just sad, you know? Like there's only so much butter that you can add until it's like not dry anymore.
Yeah, cream cheese or avocado, these kind of things.
Yeah, all of that. Pesto, you know, like, I mean, like the biggest one that I can think of is hummus, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, like a pita bread sandwich, you know, with like hummus, tahini, something like that is, you know, like without that, it would just be crap, you know. It would just not be nice. Like it's just as important as, like for me, it's just as important as like the bread or the filling.
We haven't talked about sweet sandwiches. I'm not a big fan of like Nutella, peanut butter, of these kind of things, or marmalades. What about you?
I am, yeah. I am. I have some guilty pleasures with sweet sandwiches.
Go on, talk about it.
I mean, I'm a big fan of PB&J sandwiches, like because it's just a winning combination.
What's that? Like the peanut butter and marmalade?
And jelly, yeah.
Okay.
Peanut butter jelly, yeah. Yeah, but if you have like a nice sort of like crunchy peanut butter with like a nice like salt component, and like super nice and roasty, but the salt is really quintessential. Then you have like a nice jam, like that's amazing. And I mean, you talked about Nutella. It's like I used to make Nutella at home myself, just like out of roasted hazelnuts, which sounds super fancy. It's something that you would do in COVID lockdown, I guess. But you should try it. It's really, really nice. Also needs like a really good amount of sea salt to be nice. But if you take that, and this is a little bit trashy, but like you take like just shitty white bread, you add Nutella, and then you add slices of banana, and then you put it into a sandwich press. The ones that like divides your sandwiches into little triangles. That shouldn't be allowed, because you're like.
No, I can bring it.
They'll fuck you up.
I can bring it a step further. David de Jorge, the Basque chef, like the super fat one who was Martin Berasategui's head chef for a while.
No.
Well, he's like this TV personality. He's also known as Robin Food in Spain.
Oh, that's terrible.
Well, and he had this special book called Guarindongadas or something like that,
okay.
Really nasty bites.
Yeah.
And one was Nutella with chistorra, which is kind of like a grilled chorizo.
Oh my god, that's really sacrilegious. Yeah, I can't stand behind that.
So what about sausages, cold cuts, apart from chistorra, without Nutella, for instance?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's like it goes hand in hand, no? Like, I mean, I grew up in Spain, so it's and especially like where I grew up in the Canary Islands, we had these type of bocadillos, which are basically sandwiches, but that were made in like a very particular kind of way. I think actually like now understanding it more, it like comes from from the Latin influence of like cubanos and stuff, where sandwiches are like really pressed like on a plancha, so really like planchado and kind of like squished, super crispy on the outside. And there it's like,
this is called pijama or something like that?
I don't know. I mean, for me, they were just bocadillos.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you use this bread called mollete that is very typical from the south of Spain?
No, I mean, they would just use like normal, like the usual, like white bread.
Okay.
Like softer kind of baguette.
Yeah, but going back to cold cuts, I think Europe, all over Europe, if you go to any country in every different region, they have their own different types of sausages or, like charcuterie. It's like a really rich culture in general. If we talk about Germany or France or Spain, completely different things. Italy as well.
Yeah, of course, but like it's like it goes like it makes sense, because like you have something that is like processed for you to keep, right? So like that's what sausages kind of like are for. It's like to preserve meat. So like all the stuff that you don't eat, you make into sausage so that it can keep longer. And then you like, if you pack something for on the way, like if you're like, I don't know, shepherding or whatever you do in the dark ages. I guess people still shepherd, but like, you would take something that can keep, so like you would put some stuff in the bread, cheese is the same thing. I mean, it's just kind of, it's just milk that you don't want to go to waste,
Yeah, sure.
and then you just find a way to work around that. And then like necessity becomes a technique, and the technique gets refined, and it becomes part of the food identity and therefore the cultural identity.
I mean, since you mentioned cheese, I'm a super cheese lover, but I don't get too complicated when it comes to sandwiches. Like a super good cheese, I actually want to eat it almost without bread, like a stinky French cheese that reminds you of your nasty sockets, But but for a sandwich, I just want like something you buy in the supermarket.
What do you mean, like American craft cheese or like what?
Yeah, like, I don't know, these ones that come already pre-sliced. I really like in Spain, you get a lot of goat cheese in that format. And that's what you want for a sandwich, or even a high-quality Emmental or something like that you slice yourself. But I wouldn't use like, for instance, I don't know, like a sticky stinky camembert or something like that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like Spain does have like a really good selection of sliced cheeses. Like, especially, I mean, if we talk about like cheese sandwiches, we have to talk about grilled cheese sandwiches, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy how people get a grilled cheese sandwich like super wrong. I feel like it's just like bread and cheese, you know, but like it's never really good, right? Like, do you make grilled cheese at home or?
Not so much. But,
No?
I mean, I used to do when I was a kid, but not lately.
No, I don't know. I don't anymore that much, but I went through a phase where I feel like I made one every day. And it's kind of like with a fried egg. It's like people think that like frying an egg really nicely is really easy. You know, you just bang an egg into a pan, but it's actually not, you know?
Not at all.
I mean, it's not, it is, but like if you're like weirdly obsessed with how things are cooked, then it's not really, you know, because it's kind of like, well, the egg white cooks at a different speed than the egg yolk, and you don't want the egg yolk to be raw, and you want it to be a little bit crispy on the bottom, and you want the egg yolk to be just warm, but like without any gooey things, like without any gooey egg white on the top. It's kind of like that with a grilled cheese sandwich. It's sort of like, all right, you want the outside to be really toasted. You also want the heat to go to the very center of the sandwich, so it's like melted through. Because like seriously, there's nothing more sad than a grilled cheese sandwich that you cut into, and then there's like a chunk of unmelted cheese in the center. You know, it's just super depressing. No? What a disappointment, no?
It also came to my mind when you were in Dubai, you were doing a lot of sando sandwiches, right? What's the deal with sando sandwiches?
I mean, sando is basically like just the word that they use in Japan for like a sandwich, no? I mean, for these type of sandwiches. And again, there's sort of like, it's this Hokkaido milk bread. It's like very soft, squishy bread. And it got like very popular over the last couple of years, especially with like these katsu cutlets. I mean, either sort of like these pork cutlets that are breaded and fried. And then it's also very simple. It's usually like served with this like bulldog sauce that you can buy in any like Asian supermarket. But traditionally it's made out of like onions and apples that are cooked down and caramelized for a really, really long time. So it's kind of like a barbecue sauce, sort of like sweet and tangy. And yeah, they become super popular. I mean, also because, you know, they just look cool. Like you cut the crust off, you cut them into these perfect like rectangles. They just look like visually really striking, especially if you have like a piece of Wagyu that's like perfectly cooked. There's loads of places like opening up these last years that just do katsu sandos.
Yeah, it's becoming a thing, right?
Yeah, it really is, yeah.
And this is also the bread you were mentioning that has a little bit of milk, but it's also like a sandwich bread.
Yeah, it has some milk, but then it has some milk powder in it also. And I mean, there's different ways of making it, you know? I mean, like the Hokkaido milk bread recipes that I used, like you divide the dough and you roll it up like individually. Sort of like you stretch it out, you roll it up one way, and then you flip it 90 degrees and you do the same thing. And what you then get is like this tall brioche-looking loaf. But when you cut into it and you look at the crumb, you can basically like pull the crumb apart in these like long feathery stripes. I don't know if you've ever seen anything like that, but it's got this really, really lovely texture. And that's because, you know, you create the gluten and then you layer the gluten in a certain way and then you let it proof up and it kind of bakes into itself. But any sort of like white bread. But like I wouldn't use brioche for that because it's too sweet and too rich.
Yeah, I agree.
You know?
Yeah, like a regular sandwich bread or maybe a tramezzini or something like that.
A what?
Tramezzini?
What's that?
Like an Italian bread for sandwiches for paninis.
I don't know this bread. Never heard of this bread. What's it like? Is it just like a white...
Yeah, but I mean, just like what you mentioned.
I just know trapezzini, which is like these little pizza triangles.
These ones are like super long, usually.
Okay. But you know the pizza triangles that I'm talking about?
No.
This guy came up with them. He like baked, I think they're fried. Actually, he was making pizza frita and he was making these like little shapes that he then like deep fried and he cuts one part of it off. And because the dough is so leavened, there's like a pocket and then he fills it with like meatballs and bolognese and stuff like that. Have you never seen that?
No.
It's like a big fast food thing in Italy. Like he's got like 20 locations and like, you know.
But what about also this crazy trash food culture in the States that they do like deep fried pizza inside a burger and the whole thing battered again and fried again? You know, like there are these art books that are just focused on that.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
No, you do know. You do know. Don't pretend you don't.
I don't know.
I remember once
I've
we were
never-
in Buck and Breck and your friend were showing us one of these books with this ultra trashy food.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to say about that. I try to close my eyes and ignore that part of the world. That's the abyss of culinary creations. Hey, but that brings me to that story. Like, didn't you tell me the story about your friend here in Berlin who was like?
Yeah. There are actually some witnesses here of that story. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Like, well, this was in Prenzlauer Berg. There was this, these doner places that are a doner, and in front of it you have a pizza place, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
and I have this friend that he was in Berlin just for 3 days, and he was obsessed to have ask a margarita, and to have all the doner ingredients and to roll the margarita, and they were like, no, we can't do that. So they called kind of like the owner, who was the pizzaiolo, who was on the back. And he came out, okay, let's do it. He was like that, like really motivated. So they did the margarita, put all the ingredients on top, and then they said, we're not taking responsibility to roll it, so you have to do it yourself. And it was like a huge thing, man. It was really like the diameter of a soccer ball, like really big. And it took I don't know, we had to call someone to help us eat the whole thing because it was too much.
You can't eat it and you just leave it in the fridge and you just slice slices of it like a deli ham, It's just that's some real Frankenstein shit,
Yeah, that's really funny.
Yeah.
So tell us about what was your what's the sandwich you're offering today for
today? Yeah. As we are talking about sandwiches, we thought we'd make some sandwiches, Yeah. So we've made some fried chicken sandwiches, because that's something that we really like to eat, it's kind of like a craving. They're going to be very simple. It's just like buttermilk marinated chicken with a little bit of an Asian sort of influence. There's like a Szechuan kind of togarashi sort of seasoning and like a shiso ranch dressing. We've also got a vegetarian option, which is like a mapo tofu. Oh, look, hey, you've got it ready. Oh, sorry, I'm not supposed to talk about the pictures. Mapo tofu, which is like... Yeah, please, yeah. Thank you, yeah. Heard. Mapo tofu, which is like a Chinese tofu stew. It's basically tofu that you braise in a Chinese bolognese, if you want to call it that, with ground pork. But today, it's totally veggie. It's just marinated in this spicy chili marinade, also crispy fried with the same garnish.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice. So you lived in Mexico for how long? 1 year, 2 years?
Almost 2 years. Yeah,
Okay.
almost 2 years in Mexico City.
What's the deal with tortas?
Man, tortas. Tortas are sandwiches. That's what they are, But tortas are these monstrous sandwiches. A torta in itself is basically just it's this kind of, it's almost like a baguette, but it's softer, and then it's filled with usually deli meats, vegetables, onion, cheese, and that. But the thing in Mexico is that they take it to another level, where these, as this often happens in Mexico, when they just take things to the absolute extreme, where these sandwiches just transform into these huge, ginormous monstrosities of sandwiches in the best way possible.
I would say all over Latin America. In Venezuela, we
Yeah.
have something similar with burgers. It's who makes the biggest burger with most ingredients competition. Yeah.
Yeah. What I liked in Mexico is that you have these places, they have then 15 different types of tortas that they make, and they all get specific names. It's I can't remember any of the tortas ones, but they had it for tacos as well, where there was this one taco stand who called their tacos a specific name all the time. And there was one that I really liked, which is called El Abogado, which means the lawyer. And it was a lot of tongue and just a little bit of brain, which was kind of funny. Yeah. But one thing that I absolutely didn't get, because I love tortas, and they're sort of it's the kind of food that you look at it and you're like, oh fuck, let's get a torta, let's just get a torta. And then you always kind of like regret it afterwards because you just destroyed. But like what I really didn't get were the tortas ahogadas. Have you ever tried one of those?
No. I've never tried tortas. I haven't been in Mexico.
So it's basically a torta, which, I mean, you can all imagine it's this like big faco sandwich. And then it's basically like soaked in a tomato and chili salsa until it's like completely soaked through. And then you, obviously it gets wrapped up, you take it away and you open it. And it's basically like this sloppy, soaked up like bread and filling mess, which I'm sure is delicious, but like I never understood it. It's like taking I guess people do that now that I think of it, taking a hamburger and dipping it in gravy.
Yeah.
People actually do that, no? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, there is a Chicago sandwich where they do exactly that.
Yeah,
They dip the sandwich in the cooking juice.
Yeah.
And there is even like a position to eat that sandwich with your elbows in a certain position so you don't make a mess out of yourself.
That sounds really culty. I don't know. Like it's... I've never seen that. But like, I mean, that I guess, like if you have like the dipping thing on the side and you dip it in, you eat it, like that makes sense to me. I would do that. But like, imagine taking a whole burger and having like a bucket of gravy and just dunking the whole thing in and then wrapping it up. And it's like, all right, there you go.
It is something like that. It's really something like that.
Yeah.
What about the donuts here where they heat the bread directly to the spieß, like bread? Yeah,
I don't know.
nasty.
Like for me, that's like a sign that you're at a good place. You know, it's like when they do that, it's like, all right, they like because they take care because they don't have to. And it makes sense, you know, all the fat's dripping out. They're like, you know, just kind of like, yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I agree, 100%. So my favorite sandwich, and I've said many times that this would be like my last supper for sure. It's just like a good Iberico, just for ingredients, Iberico, good olive oil, good tomatoes, and good bread. That's it. Super simple. And for me, it's also the best way to eat like good ham, which, by the way, we can discuss about oil. Maybe Italian might be better than Spanish, but Spanish ham has just no competition, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, absolutely, that's true. But this is the thing, like, you know, pan tomaca is like one of the most delicious things ever. And for people who don't know, I mean, it's literally just a type of Spanish white bread. It's called pan cristal, which is like a baguette, but kind of like more open. Like the crumb is more open and it gets super, super crispy. You toast it as a very... actually, we have to be careful. It's a really controversial topic for Spanish people, you know?
Garlic or no garlic.
Garlic or no garlic, or like, you know, like just brushing the tomato, grating the tomato on the side. Because like, honestly, people say, just brush the tomato on top.
No, but also like just using a garlic clove and just putting it around,
you know? Scrape it on top.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you just scrape it on top, a little bit of like olive oil, and then usually you cut a tomato in half. You don't cut it vertically, you have to cut it horizontally. It's very, very important, actually. And then you just brush the tomato over this crispy bread, and it soaks up all the juices, and you just add some sea salt, some olive oil, and that's it. But it's one of the most delicious things ever. And I think if people haven't tried it, like it sounds so weird. You take a crispy piece of bread, you rub some stuff on it, and then it's like tasty. But it's so good.
It makes me crazy when I see people having like a super good ham and adding mozzarella to it and pepper and different things. It's like, no, don't do it.
Yeah, that's terrible.
Yeah, the other Spanish sandwiches. Have you tried sobrasada?
Yeah, of course. It's amazing, you know.
It's basically like a chorizo spread, right? Something like that.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a sausage, but then you open it, it's soft inside, and you just kind of like spread it on bread. I mean, it's insanely delicious.
Yeah, and sobrasada with like a good cheese and caramelized onions. A super typical combination is sobrasada with honey, actually.
That's really nice, yeah. I mean, earlier we were talking about like with Nutella with chistorra. I mean, that's wrong. Like,
no, it's not, man. Like, you have to open your mind, Phil.
No, there's only so much that I can. There's only so much space for my mind to open. But yeah, sobrasada with honey and then a little bit of salt. You know, it's amazing.
Yeah, but there is also a dark side. You know, like sobrasada comes also from the Balearic Islands, and they have these things called ensaimadas, which is like a sweet thing. There are ensaimadas with sobrasada, and that I don't get. You know, it's like putting chorizo to your cinnamon rolls.
I don't know. I can kind of see it, to be honest with you. Like I can kind of see it. Yeah, I can kind of see that.
I mean,
yeah.
I tried and I was like, I don't get this. And everybody was like, ensaimada with sobrasada. It's the best.
You have to be really careful with these like sweet and savory combinations. Like it goes from sort of like, oh, that's really like quite smart, to like, what the fuck are you doing? get away from the sandwich
really
press.
quickly. Yeah. And then also in San Sebastian, they have these mini sandwiches that are pinchos, that are baguettes just the size of a biscuit with different combinations.
Yeah.
There's a famous one. It's called the completo, which is tuna belly, piparras, which is the local pickled chili, mayo, and anchovies. And man, it's super nice.
I've never tried that actually.
Yeah, it's called completo. And another one I really liked, it was like, they call it, how was it, like morsi, chori morsi or something like that. It was half chorizo, half morcilla, like chorizo and black pudding. So it looked like a black chorizo. That was also really nice. What about cheap calamares sandwiches?
Man, that's like quintessential. Like if you like, it's I mean, what is that? It's you look at it as like, it's just like a piece of bread with like fried calamari in it. But honestly, it's like, I can't, like you're out at a day at the beach, you buy like when botellones used to still be a thing,
Yeah, for me, this is synonymous with beach or Madrid. Either or.
Yeah, but you buy like a liter, 1.5 liter bottles, whatever it is, of San Miguel, and you get a calamari sandwich with aioli. It has to be with aioli.
Yeah,
it's
best.
Amazing.
One of the best things in life.
Yeah.
In Venezuela, we have this typical pork sandwich that is called pernil. It's one of my favorites. So it has a lot of pork. But I have a really funny story. When I was in Bolivia, my friend Diego Prado was visiting. He had some list of places to go, and there was this super legendary in Bolivia. They call it sandwich de Chola, which is basically a pork leg sandwich. But the story with this one, there were two sisters, like vendor spots in the street, and the first one had like a long queue, people waiting to have the sandwich. So and it was like a really, really nice sandwich. We actually got to try them both because we were the last one in the first queue. So once it ended, everybody turned into the second one. Once the first one was sold out. So everybody went to the first one first and the second. So we tried the first one. It was amazing. And the second one was not so amazing. Good, but not that crazy, right? And then we heard the story that these two women were sisters that had like a fight and haven't talked to each other like in 10 years. And they have been doing that for the last 10 years, like this sandwich beef in the middle of the street.
Man, they must have the best beef. I mean, pun intended. But like, imagine the tea behind that. It sounds like a telenovela.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Bolivian telenovela, Cholita telenovela. What about Nordic countries, smørrebrød?
Yeah, I mean, smørrebrød also, it's like, there's like such a cool culture like behind it. I mean, honestly, Danish rye bread, one of my favorite breads ever. It's like, if it's made right, it's so delicious, It's, I mean, super dense. It's like full of whole grain and full of seeds. And then basically, I mean, like that's the country of open-faced sandwiches, right? It's kind of like earlier, we were talking about pan tomaca and stuff like that. It's kind of like, is it a sandwich,
Exactly. It's like, they call it open-faced sandwich.
Yeah.
But this is something you eat with fork and knife, which is like against the rules of a sandwich.
That's true. Yeah, totally. So is it a sandwich?
Nah, but like the content-wise, it's really interesting what it has.
Yeah.
Because it always has some pickles, some cured meats or fish, always a cream.
But like they go crazy with it because like, especially nowadays where they kind of, because the Nordic countries are kind of a little bit dead, in certain aspects, like culinary wise, but like with like now it's obviously completely changed through the whole Nordic food movement and stuff. Not to say that there wasn't good food there, but like there was less of an attention on the Nordic countries. And then the whole Nordic food movement came along with, the Noma people and all the people that kind of came out of that. And what's the guy called?
Klaus
Meyer. And now people are really celebrating this like thing that they've had for hundreds of years, and they've kind of like make it more intricate. And now there's these like amazing smørrebrød places where they get like creative, but in a nice way with the toppings, and they kind of like super fill it up, with roast beef and super amazing house-made pickles and horseradish. And I mean, the seafood scene in the Nordic countries is amazing. Obviously, these like fjord shrimps that they have, that you can just eat raw, like just a little bit boiled. And it's like, I love it. It's super nice. I mean, the next time, like when I go to Copenhagen, it's definitely on my list to go to a really nice smørrebrød place.
Yeah. Now I feel like going to Copenhagen.
Yeah.
What about wraps? Are wraps sandwiches? I would say these have to be the predecessors of the sandwiches we know today. Before this British guy said, "Oh, I'm a genius."
Oh, was he British? Yeah. That
or
checks
Scottish.
out.
I don't know, like something like that.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I'm not so sure, to be honest with you.
Yeah?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like you said, that's kind of the cool thing about sandwiches, no? It's like that it's probably like when I eat like a falafel sort of pita bread, I kind of think like this is like one of the foods that's kind of remained relatively the same for like so long. And thinking of sort of like, like a cultural identity and like food evolution throughout the years, I think that's kind of amazing because it's kind of like, it's like so primal in a way. It's like bread cooked in like a hot oven over the fire, like a flatbread, and then just like stuff on top that you eat. But I don't know, is it a sandwich? I don't know.
Yeah, I actually agree on that one. What about these things where you have like rice cakes or ramen to make a sandwich, like grilled ramen?
I don't know, man. I don't know. It's, I guess so, right? Like, I guess so. Why not?
Yeah, no, yeah. You don't seem convinced.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm trying to convince myself.
It's a heresy, right?
I don't know, but I'm from a bread-eating country, Like, yeah, like is sushi a sandwich? It's like rice. It's like fish that's wrapped in rice. That like, and I mean, the sushi like originated because of that. It's kind of like, right. So we have. Have you guys ever seen like the original sushi that's like pressed? Right. I mean, because the rice in sushi is vinegared, right, which makes it obviously vinegar makes things keep longer because it's antibacterial. And one of the like very first versions was with mackerel that was very lightly brined, and then put into a sort of rectangular box with rice and then pressed and then sliced, right, and then wrapped in seaweed. So that you could take this, it would keep for a little bit longer, and you could take it on the go and eat it, right. And that again is like an example, like with sandwiches, of sort of like a necessity that becomes like a trend in a way, and then gets refined and becomes like part of the food culture, So you could kind of say that sushi is a sandwich. I don't know.
Yeah, like it actually it makes sense. Like it's kind of like a structural thing talking about sandwiches.
Yeah.
What about croissants? Sandwich with croissants?
Yeah, for sure, sandwich. Yeah, yeah, absolutely, no doubt.
Yeah, I agree.
You don't think so?
Agree.
Yeah.
What's the best way for you to eat a croissant? Do you have like any preference?
Yeah, I actually do. I think if you have a nice croissant, and it's like if you have a nice croissant, just eat the fucking croissant. Like don't do anything with it. But if it's like the day after, and this croissant is a little bit stale, slice it open, and then sort of like like whatever you want to put in. I really like this like Italian ham, this like cooked rosemary ham, that has like this rosemary crust. It's like it's not cured, it's the cooked one, right?
Yeah.
That, like a little bit of cheese and whatever you want to put in, like if you really want to go that way and want to put some rucola leaves in or whatever,
Yeah, that sounds really amazing.
And then you put it on a plancha and you press it until it's really flat, That's like, for me, that's the best thing. It's kind of like, it really like revives the croissant. It's got like enough butter in it to get like really crispy and hot. But like, you have to press it super, super flat, and just like embrace the like, the two-dimensional like aspect of the sandwich,
Like a croissant hack I learned not so long ago. Many of these toasters, they have like this part on top of the toaster, which is actually to toast croissants. So the croissants don't get inside the toaster, but it gets enough heat to get completely crispy, like a fresh baked croissant. So you can regenerate like a croissant the next day,
really,
instead of destroying it like you were just describing.
Hey, don't croissant shame me, man. We all have our moments, okay? Yeah, but that's cool. I've never tried that actually.
Yeah, it's super cool. Yeah. Do you toast your breads when you do sandwiches? Like, do you use a pan or do you prefer like a toaster?
It really depends. I mean, like if I'm just making like a filled sandwich, I toast them. But like most of the time, I fill it in a way where I want the cheese to melt. So I usually always build a sandwich and then do it in a pan, like I would with the grilled cheese.
Okay, I actually like toasting the bread before, like with lots of butter on both sides, or on a toaster, whatever.
But like, I mean, like I think the winner is like the panini grill. Like a panini grill is such an amazing piece of equipment. I think it's one of the most underrated pieces of equipment ever. I like when I was still like a much younger chef, like I did a pop-up in London and in this really raggedy small kitchen. And we didn't have any equipment apart from like an induction and a panini grill. And the amount of things that you can find that you can do on a panini grill is absolutely amazing.
For sure.
No,
you can
seriously.
do anything. In a panini
really.
grill. Yeah.
It's like, no, absolutely. I think it's one of the most underrated pieces of equipment ever, from like grilling spring onions with like these beautiful like char marks and
I'm sure you
searing
can do
meats.
even like a pan bread on a panini grill.
Yeah.
Like the bread itself. Yeah.
Yeah,
sure.
probably. Yeah.
Have you ever seen like professional? Do you toast your buns when you're doing a burger?
Yeah, 100%.
With a regular toaster or how?
No, on a griddle usually.
Because that's also something like I learned. I use like a regular toaster and I learned that burger places like McDonald's, they have like this super sophisticated toasters where you get a bun toasted like in 5 seconds on both sides. And I was working on a project for a burger company and I learned this. And since then, I always use like a regular toaster and it works out super well.
A regular toaster for burger buns?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
So do you have any like memorable sandwich you ever tried somewhere that you want to talk about?
Oh yeah. I mean, there's this place in London called Dusty Knuckle Bakery.
Okay.
And they do like regularly changing sandwiches and they're just like super, I mean, they're like not like crazy naughty or anything, but it's exactly like what you want. It's like a nice spreads, like roasted vegetables, really good deli meat, like really nice cheese and stuff. And then they bake all the bread themselves. So it's like, it's super nice. And they just like, and they'll do the sort of like, roasted squash with like hazelnut pesto and goat's cheese, and it's like, oh my God, it's so nice, just kind of like really like with a chef's perspective, they were like really nice combinations. Like simple ingredient focus, but like super interesting and just super, super delicious.
For me, for sure, the best sandwich I've had in my life was in Firenze, in Italy, in Tuscany. It's this place called All'Antico Vinato. And first of all, in most of Tuscany, all the breads are almost without salt. So it's kind of annoying, You're in a restaurant, you have your bread, and it doesn't have salt. And it's
true.
It's the Tuscan bread. Nice.
Nice. Yeah, thanks.
Can have some salt. Yeah, exactly. But this one they do like this. It's not a focaccia. It's a different type of bread. But, in terms of structure, it's kind of like a focaccia. And so many people, it's for a lot of food writers, it's the best sandwich place in the world. I had this one that they do like a local salami. It has like a pecorino cream, then also an artichoke cream, and spicy aubergines. That's it.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah,
I mean, that's the genius of like Italian cooking in general. It's just sort of like just super simple, product focused. It's just like not overloaded, seasonal, and then there's just the quality of like, because like what makes these sandwiches like so good is just like the pure quality of like, if you just have like a mortadella, just a super high quality mortadella, you don't really need anything anymore. Mortadella, a little bit of olive oil, that's it.
Well, talking about mortadella, like Anthony Bourdain's favorite sandwich is like just a bun, grilled mortadella, grilled cheese. So you grill like the mortadella on a pan as you would do with, like with a steak or anything.
That's in the States, that's called a fried Beloni sandwich, That's,
And then it just has mustard and mayonnaise. That's it.
Yeah. Hey, that's a winner, Like, honestly, like, I like that, It's, I got that from an American friend of mine. She was just like buying like store-bought like mortadella in Spain. Just like put it in a pan. And I was like, what are you making? She's like, bologna. I'm making bologna. And it's really good, with like a spicy mustard with it, and then like if you add nice cheese, it's super nice. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I think we've reached time to perhaps make questions. If someone in the audience wants to make a question before they do, we have to pass the mic.
Do we have sandwich-related questions or just general questions?
I would like to know where is this All'Antico Vinaio, which is the place in Italy where it is.
It's in Firenze, Florence, and they have like 6 different shops in the city. Yeah.
But they've actually just opened in the States also. Like they've just...
Oh, really?
Yeah, like very recently.
I didn't know about that.
I think probably New York.
Okay.
Yeah, and because it was they got so Instagram famous also, with these like big, like stacked up mortadella sandwiches that I think somebody reached out to them and offered them a lot of money.
Yeah, because the sandwiches are like a plate size, it's like a huge thing.
They're huge, yeah.
Any more questions?
Talking about grilled cheeses, there used to be a place here in Berlin which was called Tin Man. They had an excellent grilled cheese, but unfortunately they closed. Where would you go for a good grilled cheese now?
Oh, that's difficult.
In Berlin.
That's difficult, honestly. I haven't had like a super standout grilled cheese here yet. The closest thing that I can think of is 44 Breckie in Friedrichshain. They do like an egg drop sandwiches with like melted cheese, and it's more like a brunch breakfast place. And they're kind of like similar to that. They make really nice bread, like really nice milk bread, and it's these like very thick sandwiches with like egg drop, bacon, and cheese. And they're very nice. Like they're very, very good. But grilled cheese, like a puristic grilled cheese, I don't know where you would go.
No idea.
Yeah.
Not in Berlin, especially.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Okay.
Because Phil, you said that making a grilled cheese sandwich is not really easy. So can you show everyone or tell everyone, what they have to take care of when they want to make a really good sandwich?
I mean, I can't show anybody because I'd have to pantomime making a grilled cheese. That would get awkward. But so it's pretty simple. Like it's you choose your bread, you choose the cheese. I would say, like if you're a butter person, you lightly butter the inside of the bread, but then you build your sandwich and you butter the outside of the bread also. Just a very thin, even layer on all the bread. And then I usually start it in a cold pan, right? So I put the bread in the pan and I turn the heat on to medium and I wait until one side is like really nicely golden brown, but not all the way that I want it to be golden brown. And then I flip it and you also put some weight on it, right? You press it down. Can be another pan, can be a pot, or, like this. I mean, in professional kitchens, we have special weights that we use for when we're searing fish or anything so that it keeps it flat in contact to the pan. And that really helps transmit the heat, but also keep the sandwich like really nice and flat and press it down and keep it together. And then once I have the other side browned, sort of like 70% of the way, I flip it again, brown a little bit more, flip it again. Like that, you kind of extend the time that the sandwich is in a pan, and by that time the cheese should be fully melted. Yeah. And then if you want to go extra, depending on how fatty the cheese is and how much butter you put on your bread, just give it a little dab on like a little bit of like a paper towel to just take the excess fat off, and then the bread will be super crispy. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Another one? Okay. So a big round of applause, please.
Thanks, everybody, for coming. It's super nice to see, all the friendly faces. And since you're so cool people, everyone who came to the show is going to get a free sandwich. So it's getting prepared outside, and Chef Phil will, put on his secret magic, and I hope you all enjoy it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, maybe give us a couple of minutes to set up outside. I don't know what the situation is there, but it shouldn't take too long.
As you're waiting, obviously you can look up for Potluck Food Talks on Spotify or anywhere you listen to your podcasts. Give us a follow, give us a 5-star review and all the shebang. All right, we're going to set up a little bit, so just feel free to get something to drink. Hang out a little bit, and once the sandwiches are almost done. I'll let you know.
That's it for this week's episode of Potluck Food Talks. If you like what we're doing, make sure to subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. You can also find us on Instagram and TikTok as Potluck Food Talks. The show airs every Monday.